statement is to be presented to the House, and members will not know the content until they look for it after a long while. Yet the issues were that it is of public interest. Everybody wants to know what you are saying.
Do we do that before we get into the business of the House?
It is part of the business of the House. If you have it,
Chair, then I'm not in a position to move it now, Chair.
If you are not, that's okay.
Okay.
I was also requested by two members, the Honorable Dawood and the Honorable Shakil Shabir, to eulogize the passing on of His Highness Prince Aga Khan, the spiritual leader of the Ismailia Muslim community. Between the two, I don't know who is going to go first. And do you have to do it both? Yes. Who is senior? I'll start with the senior. I'll start with Shakil Shabir. Then Dawood be ready after Shakil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to present a tribute on behalf to the Aga Khan community, the Ismaili community, in respect of the passing away of Prince Karim Aga Khan, whose vision and visionary leadership and unwavering commitment has left an indelible mark on Kenya. He was a beacon of hope for millions around the country. His Highness was the 49th hereditary Imam of the Ismaili Muslims, passed away on the 4th of February 2025, leaving a legacy of compassion, education, and humanitarianism. In Kenya, the Aga Khan's contribution has been transformative across various sectors. His Highness established the Nation Media Group in 1959, which has been the cornerstone of press freedom and media excellence in East Africa. Through the Aga Khan Fund for Economic Development, he founded Serena Hotels, promoting tourism and economic growth while preserving cultural heritage and environmental sustainability. The Aga Khan Education Fund also established Aga Khan schools across the country. The Aga Khan Primary School in Kisumu, where I studied, was a source of pride, producing generations of well-educated individuals who continue to contribute to the nation's development. This institution has even got up to 95%. They were recognized as the top school for a number of years. The Aga Khan hospitals in Nairobi and Mombasa and Kisumu and the Aga Khan University Hospital stands as a beacon of quality health care, providing cutting-edge medical services and also reducing the need for Kenyans to seek treatment abroad. His Highness has also played a pivotal role in education, establishing the Aga Khan academies in Mombasa and Kisumu. As we mourn His Highness, we mourn the loss of His Highness, let us also celebrate his remarkable achievements and the enduring impact of his work in Kenya and East Africa. May his legacy inspire us to strive for a better, more compassionate world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Dawood Rahim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to give a tribute to the late His Highness, the Prince Aga Khan Al-Husseini Aga Khan V. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 43.1, I rise with a heavy heart to pay tribute to our towering figure, whose legacy of service, wisdom, and compassion has left an indelible mark on our world. The late His Highness Prince Karim Al-Husseini Aga Khan IV, the founder and chairman of the Aga Khan Development Network Foundation, Honorable Speaker, the late Prince Karim Al Husseini Aga Khan IV was not only a spiritual leader, but also a visionary humanitarian and a champion of progress whose impact transcended borders, faiths, and generations. For over 6 decades, the Aga Khan dedicated his life to uplift communities, advancing education, strengthening healthcare, and fostering economic development. His leadership of the Ismaili Muslim community was marked not only by the spiritual guidance, but by the unwavering commitment to pluralism, unity, and the dignity of all peoples, regardless of background. Honorable Speaker, through the Aga Khan Development Network, he transformed lives in ways few have ever done. The late Prince Karim Al Husseini Aga Khan V understood that leadership is not measured by power, but rather by service. He stood as a bridge between civilizations, a voice of reason in times of division, and a steadfast believer in the power of knowledge. His advocacy for inclusivity and social cohesion remains an inspiration to leaders across the globe. His legacy continues through the institutions he built, the lives he changed, and the values he instilled in all who had the privilege to know him. Honorable Speaker, may I extend my deepest condolences to the family, friends, and community of the Aga Khan V as we honor the life of an extraordinary purpose. We give thanks for his boundless contributions and pledge to carry forward his vision of a more just, compassionate, and enlightened world. May His Highness the Aga Khan rest in peace. And Mr. Speaker, we want to congratulate His Highness Prince Rahim Al Husseini the Aga Khan V on his ascension yesterday to the Imamate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, yes, Pasaris, is it on the same issue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just thought in the interest of gender, we should also have a woman speak to the passing of the Aga Khan. Prince Karim Al Hussein Aga Khan, what I know is that he, as soon as he assumed office at the age of 20, 2 resolutions that he passed to amend the constitution. The first one was that if a family has children, girls and boys, and they have limited resources, the girl should be given the possibility of going to school. So he believed in gender empowerment. He believed that women and girls should be given equal opportunity, and if resources were less, then the girl should be promoted to go and study. He also started the Aga Khan housing projects because he believed that every family should own a home. So as we stand in solidarity with the Ismaili community and having been a beneficiary of the Aga Khan's projects, in the sense that I went to the Aga Khan Primary School and the Aga Khan Kensek Secondary School, I pay condolences to the entire Ismaili community, and we thank the foundations of the Aga Khan for all the work that they do, and we congratulate the new prince for assuming position. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, in recognition of the outstanding work to humanity by the late Prince Aga Khan, each one of us here has in one way or another been touched by the work of the Aga Khan. Either you have gone to Aga Khan Hospital, or you have gone to Aga Khan schools, or you have gone to Serena hotels, or you read the Nation newspaper. In whichever way you have been touched, I want to request the House with great humility to stand for a minute's silence in honor of the Aga Khan. Thank you. Go back to communication.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, those on their feet, take your seats. Kiamba, take your seat, Mami. Sabina Chege, take your seat. Honorable members, I have a communication to make on the leadership and continuity of the business of the House in the 4th session of the 13th Parliament. Honorable members, during the afternoon sitting of Tuesday, 11th February 2025, the member for Suba North, the Honorable Millie Odhiambo Mabona MP, rose on a point of order in relation to the designation of the majority and minority parties in the House and their respective leadership. In the point of order, the Honorable Millie noted that she had been aware of a judgment of the High Court in Nairobi, High Court case number E202 of 2023, Kenneth Njagi Njiru versus State Law Office and Jubilee Party of Kenya, where the court had declared the ruling contained in the communication made on 6 October 2022 on the majority and minority parties in the National Assembly as unconstitutional, null and void. In her view, the judgment declared the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as the majority party. The Honorable Millie further noted that she had submitted a letter to the Speaker seeking the recognition of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as the majority party and conveying the names of the Honorable Junet Mohammed as the majority leader and the Honorable Robert Mbui as the deputy majority leader. She concluded by seeking that the Speaker recuse himself from presiding over the proceedings and to allow the Honorable Deputy Speaker to recognize Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as the majority party, Honorable Junet Mohammed as the majority leader, and the Honorable Robert Mbui as the deputy majority leader. Notably, the Honorable Millie seems to have conveniently forgotten the fact that the Honorable Deputy Speaker is also a member of a political party and represents a constituency. As such, the Honorable Millie's concerns of impartiality would still have arisen if the Deputy Speaker was in the chair. Indeed, this applies to all members of the Speaker's panel. At the beginning of the debate, I gave honorable members some general direction in the issues from the judgment as I understood them, including the fact that the judgment did not bar the Speaker from presiding over the House. Indeed, the issue of how a vacancy arises in the office of the Speaker is expressly provided for in Article 106(2) of the Constitution. Arising from the point raised by the Honorable Millie, no less than 58 other members contributed to the debate that arose, with a number raising additional points of order. This included the Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Gladys Boss, Honorable Kimani Chungwa, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, the Honorable Adan Kainan, the Honorable Silvanos Osoro, the Honorable Sabina Chege, the Honorable Christopher Seka, the Honorable David Ocheng, the Honorable George Murugara, the Honorable Joseph McClap, the Honorable Omboko Milemba. Other members who contributed on the point of order were the Honorable Major Retired Bashir Abdullahi, Honorable Betty Maina, Honorable John Kiarie, Honorable Timothy Kipchumba, Honorable Raphael Wanjala, Honorable John Chikati, Honorable Zahir Janda, Honorable Robert Mbui, Honorable George Murugara, I think that's repeated, Honorable Doris Donya, Honorable Wanami Wamboka, Honorable Tienda Molo, Honorable Karoli Omondi, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, Honorable Duncan Madenge, Honorable Didmas Baraza, Honorable Jane Kagiri, Honorable Emmanuel Wangwe, Honorable Peter Kaluma, Honorable Dr. Lillian Kogo, Honorable Gideon Kimaio. Additionally, Honorable Nabina Bwera, Honorable Marian Kitanyi, Honorable Sakimba Parashina, Honorable Joyce Bensuda, Honorable Captain Retired Roeda Obo, Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, Honorable Chiforo Mondo Mangale, Honorable Gidinji Kishimu, Honorable Majimbo Kalasinga, Honorable Dr. Robert Pukose, Honorable Musili Mawadhe, Honorable Kasim Tandaza, Honorable Baro Mohammed, Honorable Alice Nganga, Honorable TJ Kajwang, Honorable Dr. James Sinyikal, Honorable Ruth Odinga, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Honorable Dr. Wilfred Oundo, Honorable Kakai Bisau, Honorable Titus Lote, Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi, Honorable Kuria Kimani, Honorable John Waluke, Honorable Rahim Daoud, Honorable Gonsirai, and the Honorable Moses Kirima contributed to the debate. In broad summary, the ensuing debate crystallized the following issues. A, whether the court in its findings designated any party as the majority party or any party as the minority party in this House, and even the affirmative, whether this was an invitation to the whips to invoke the provisions of Standing Order 19A and 20 on the submission of freshly elected party leaders. B, what were the implications of the judgment to the continuity of the business of the House, noting that the court expressly declined to grant the prayers sought by the petitioners to declare Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party as the majority party and Kenya Kwanza as the minority party. Whether the judgment rendered the constitution of the House Business Committee, which is the core business at the first sitting of the House in a new session, impossible. Whether the judgment rendered the transaction of the business of the House impractical, and if in the affirmative, whether any intervention ought to be made so as to facilitate the National Assembly to continue discharging its constitutional responsibilities. What were the specific findings of the court in the judgment in question, and what is the effect on the proceedings and resolutions of the House in the pre-judgment 13th Parliament? Whether the judgment affects other facets of the House that are determined by the relative majorities and coalition agreements, such as the deputy party leaders, whips, chairs, chairing and membership of all House committees, membership of the Parliamentary Service Commission, nominations to the IEBC selection panel, and the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Whether the Speaker is a member of the House and how this relates to his political rights and party affiliation, and how the role of the Speaker in the House relates to the principle of impartiality. Whether certain aspects of the judgment violated the doctrine of separation of powers by constituting judicial encroachment into, 1, the internal affairs of the legislature contrary to the spirit of Article 124 of the Constitution that empowers each House to regulate its own procedure, and any attempt by the courts to prescribe a procedure for the Houses may stifle the ability of the House to discharge its constitutional mandate. The powers, privileges, and immunities accorded to the House and its membership by Article 117 of the Constitution, if matters done by Parliament officially in the furtherance of its constitutional mandate, will attract personal liability. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. Koyo, take the nearest seat. You don't have to run across the floor. Thank you. While contributing to the debate, the Honorable Mwengi Mtusi tabled a letter dated 30th January 2024 from the Register of Political Parties indicating that the Maendeleo Chap had exited the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party with effect from 25th January 2024. On her part, the Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Gladys Boss, submitted that upon receipt of the judgment, while discharging the role of the Speaker in the absence of the Speaker who was out of jurisdiction, She instructed the clerk of the National Assembly to seek information from the register of political parties with respect to the status of the membership of the 21 parties represented in the House in any coalition and to request for certified copies of the relevant coalition agreements. At the conclusion of the debate, the Deputy Speaker tabled a response from the Register of Political Parties referred as Request for Information on Coalition Agreements, dated 11th February 2025. Annexed to the response were certified copies of coalition agreements relating to A, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition and the Democratic Party, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition and the Grand Dream Development Party, the Kenya Kwanza Coalition and the National Agenda Party of Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Coalition and Chama cha Mashinani CCM, the Taifa Democratic Coalition. Consequently, members, I undertook to consider the concerns raised by the members and documents tabled by the Honorable Mutusa and the Deputy Speaker and to guide the House at this sitting. At the very outset, I wish to note that the judgment seems to have created an element of unprecedented confusion in the affairs of the House. This has affected the manner in which I have now been called upon to guide the House in light of the patent contradictions I have noted in the letter submitted by the Honorable Millie Odhiambo. In communicating confirmation of members of the Azimio coalition as the majority, the Honorable Millie signs off as the majority party whip, National Assembly, against a letterhead that also designates her as the minority chief whip. The letter also fails to attach any records of any meeting which the alleged decision of the coalition was made as required by the very standing orders 19A and 20 that she quoted and invoked. Viewed in isolation, the letter is in law defective. Nevertheless, I'll allow the honorable member some latitude in the light of the prevailing confusion. Honorable members, I've read the judgment, and it has been explained to me at length by our very able legal team. I find it quite unfortunate that misleading assertions have been made with respect to the findings of the court. Honorable Wanjala, keep your cool. The majority of the reporting has failed to note that the matter before the court related to a mixed bag of prayers sought by petitioners touching on the pending disputes in the Jubilee Party, the Finance Bill 2023, requests for a section of Kenyans not to pay taxes, and deeming of certain members to have resigned from their political parties, among others. A reading of the judgment reveals glaring factual and legal contradictions. I instructed that an appeal be lodged against the judgment forthwith. My guidance to the House should not be construed as a review of the findings and orders of the court, and that remains within the province of the judiciary. With respect to the issues raised by the members, I can only pronounce myself on matters that are necessary to facilitate the continuity of the business of the House. Consequently, the guidance I'm about to give shall strictly confine itself within those parameters. Honorable members, I wish to note that out of 34 prayers expressly sought by the petitioners, the High Court in its findings only granted 3 prayers and expressly declined the other 31 prayers. Paragraph 508 of the judgment reads, and I quote, "In the ultimate, we allow the petition to the following extent. It is hereby declared," that's Roman 1, "that the question as to which party or coalition of parties is the majority in the National Assembly in the 13th Parliament was determined by the sovereign will of the Kenyan voters during the 9th August 2022 general elections. 2, it is hereby declared that the Honorable Speaker's ruling On determination contained in his communication from the chair made on 6 October 2022 on the majority and minority in the National Assembly violated Article 108 of the Constitution and therefore is null and void. 3, it is hereby declared, I'm quoting from the judgment, it is hereby declared that the Honorable Speaker's ruling or determination from the chair on 6 October 2022 with respect to leadership of the National Assembly on account of his determination of the majority party and minority party in the National Assembly is contrary to and violated Article 108 of the Constitution, and to that extent is null and void. 3, an order of certiorari is hereby issued quashing the Honorable Speaker's ruling or determination contained in his communication from the chair made on 6 October 2022 on the majority and minority in the National Assembly. Subject to the foregoing orders, the court went on. The rest of the prayers in the petition are declined. Parties will bear their own costs. Honorable members, finding number Roman 4 in which the court declined to grant the rest of the prayers sought by the petitioners is quite instructive. To put it in its proper perspective, I note that at paragraph 33, appearing on page 6 of the judgment, the petitioner had expressly sought that the court grants the following prayers, among others. D, that a declaration be issued to declare that the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is the majority party in the National Assembly of Kenya based on the outcome of the election of members of the National Assembly held on 9th August 2022. That a declaration be issued to declare that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance is the minority party in the National Assembly of Kenya based on the outcome of the elections of members of the National Assembly held on August 2022. I reiterate that it is in its final orders, and in particular, at paragraph 508, Roman 4 of the judgment, the court expressly declined to grant these orders. Therefore, in quashing the communication issued on 6 October 2022, the leadership of the National Assembly in the 13th Parliament, the court did not declare any party or coalition of parties as the majority or minority party, and neither did it declare any member of this House as the leader of the majority party, nor the leader of the minority party. This addresses the first and second issues. Honorable members, yesterday when all of you submitted, I kept quiet and listened. I implore you also to keep quiet and listen. It's a quid pro quo. Even the Honorable Millie, who raised the issue, is conducting herself like the distinguished lawyer she is, listening quietly. And for us, when we go to court as lawyers, even when the court rules against you, you stand up, bow, and say, I'm much obliged, my lord. Oh, no, Angela. Moving on, honorable members, in its first finding, the High Court cryptically held that the question as to which party or coalition parties in the majority in the National Assembly in the 13th Parliament was determined in August 2022. Whereas the finding of the court is a statement of fact and of law as prevailing on the 9th August 2022, the nagging question as raised by a number of members is whether the law contemplates this determination of the majority and minority parties to be static throughout the subsequent days of a term of Parliament. The Constitution itself enumerates several avenues in which the number of parliamentary seats secured by a party or a coalition at a general election can be subsequently varied. First, Article 103 of the Constitution spells out 7 instances in which a vacancy can arise in the office of a member of Parliament, including death and resignation, and this can drastically affect the numbers or members of a particular party. Secondly, Article 104 of the Constitution provides for the manner in which a member of parliament can be recalled by the electorate with the result and effect on the parliamentary seats secured by any political party. Thirdly, Article 105 of the Constitution provides for the manner in which the High Court can nullify the election of a member of parliament with the result and effect on the parliamentary seats by any political party. Fourth, Article 108 of the Constitution, as further expounded in the Political Parties Act, acknowledges the formation and existence of coalitions which, when varied through post-election agreements, have a result and effect on the parliamentary seats associated with a political party or coalition. For instance, apart from the dynamic complexities that we have witnessed around the composition of coalitions since the last general election, honorable members are also aware of the current existence of 3 vacancies in the office of members of parliament with respect to Banisa constituency, Magarin constituency, and Ugunja constituency. A further vacancy exists with respect to the nomination slot vacated by the Honorable John Badi. How is the House meant to treat a change in its relative majorities arising from the current existing 4 vacancies? Honorable members, to my mind, all the cited scenarios create avenues for the exercise of the sovereign will of the people to determine the majority and minority in the House. By quashing the guidance that I gave for purposes of ensuring the continuity of the business of the House, the court recreated the very same question that arose at the commencement of the 13th Parliament as to which party or coalition is the majority or minority in the House. Honorable members, the 3rd schedule to the Constitution prescribed the oath that I took pursuant to Article 74 of the Constitution before assuming office as your Speaker. Having been elected by yourselves on 8 September 2022, I swore to bear true faith and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya. I undertook to faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as Speaker and to obey, respect, preserve, and protect and defend the Constitution. Critically, I also committed to do right to all manner of persons in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and conventions of Parliament without fear or favor, affection, or ill will. I did ask the Almighty God to help me in this crucial role and appended my signature to the physical version of the oath. With that in mind, whenever I am invited to render guidance to the House, it remains my solemn and singular duty to provide that guidance and way forward. My predecessors have previously upheld the significance of safeguarding the independence, powers, and privileges of this House and the doctrine of exclusive cognizance. Article 124 of the Constitution empowers the House to regulate its own procedure, and the other arms of government have a duty to refrain from interfering with this privilege. A question such as the one referring to the majority and minority party falls within this privilege and must, as of necessity, be guarded jealously and only resolved within Parliament. The Constitution and the laws and conventions of Parliament do not grant me the option of declining jurisdiction or issuing any guidance that effectively holds the operations of the House. My oath obligates me to ensure the uninterrupted functions of this House for the benefit of the people of Kenya. In its finding number 3, the court held that the communication was null and void. Debate arose as to whether this finding affected the propriety of all the business that the House has transacted since it was inaugurated on 8 September 2022. There were perceptions and assertions that the legislation so far passed by the House may have been voided. It should be beyond doubt that there was no order of the court in this regard to precipitate this kind of thinking, and there cannot have been such a blanket order as the issues placed before the court by the litigants did not question legality and competence of Parliament to legislate on matters before it, save for the prayers relating to the Finance Act 2023 and Appropriations Act 2023, and these prayers were expressly dismissed by the court. Members at the bar, take the nearest seats. The nearest seats, Shinali. Osero, take the nearest seat. Thank you. It should be beyond doubt that there was no order of the court in this regard. Sorry, I've read that. As ably noted by the Honorable Member for Kikuyu, the decisions which arise from the business transacted by the House has no relation to which party is designated as the majority or minority. They are decisions of the House as a whole. From where I sit, no debate can arise as to the legality of the actions taken by the House prior to the invalidation of the communication. I need not belabor this point. To the critical matter at hand, Article 108 of the Constitution establishes the offices of party leaders in Parliament and outlines the order of precedence to be observed in the National Assembly as follows. There shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party. The leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of parties. The leader of the minority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the second largest party or coalition of parties. The following order of precedence shall be observed in the National Assembly: the Speaker of the National Assembly, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party. In determining which party or coalition of parties is the majority party and minority party, primary reference has to be made to the results of the last general election. As noted in previous guidance on the designation of the leadership of the House, the exercise must be informed by reference to formal records of membership of the political parties represented in the House and their affiliations, if any, with each other through pre- and post-election coalition agreements. It will be noted that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, via Gazette Notice number 99509951 of 2022, both dated 23rd August 2022, Gazette Notice number 10535 of 2022, dated 5th September 2022, Gazette Notice number 10537 of 2022, dated 7th September 2022, and Gazette Notice number 10710 of 2022, dated 9th September 2022, declared all the persons duly elected and nominated as members of this House and their respective parties at the general election. With respect to the affiliation between the parties currently represented in the National Assembly, Standing Order 2B requires the Clerk of the National Assembly to obtain a certified copy of any coalition agreement entered into between two or more political parties. As guided in previous rulings by the speakers of this House, Standing Order 2B was intended to allow the House to determine its relative majorities and resolve, among others, any disputes between constitutive parties of coalitions, to the membership of the Parliamentary Service Commission, nominations to the Commission on Revenue Allocation, and positions in the East African Legislative Assembly. Honorable members, indeed, as noted by members in their contributions to the debate herein, the continuity of the business of the House and consideration of the orders of the court under finding Roman 1 of the judgment would be significantly embedded without access to the most current information on any coalitions formed or dissolved by the parties represented in the House today, and any variation in the membership of those coalitions and parties. This information must be juxtaposed against the current membership of the House. Indeed, several members, including Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Honorable Junet Mohammed, Honorable Peter Kaluma, Honorable Mboko Milemba, Honorable David Ocheng, Honorable Sabina Chege, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, Honorable Major Retired Bashir, and others referred to what they call changed circumstances in the composition of the respective coalitions and parties within the House. Allow me to take you, honorable members, down memory lane, just but for illustration. During the 7th Parliament, where yours truly was a member, there arose a leadership dispute between Ford Asili and Ford Kenya as to which party was the official opposition. Each party had 31 seats, leading to a dramatic and humorous incident where the late Honorable Martin Shikuku, you may recall that the leader of Ford Asili was the Honorable late Kenneth Matiba, who was not having good health at the time. So Martin Shikuku, as the Secretary General of the party, was the de facto leader of the party in the House. They were leading dramatic and humorous incidents where the late Honorable Martin Shikuku and the late Honorable Mzee Jaramogi Oginga Odinga alternatively claimed the seat reserved for the leader of opposition in the House on a first-come, first-occupy basis. The dispute was finally resolved following the defection of Honorable Njuguna Njoroge from Ford Asili, the then member for Makuyu, who defected to KANU. Thereafter, Ford Kenya became the de facto official opposition party, with the Honorable Jaramogi Oginga Odinga as the leader of the official opposition, subsequently followed by the Honorable Wamalwa Kijana after the demise of Mzee Odinga. The dispute, it would therefore be beyond absurdity for your Speaker to blindly designate the leadership of the House without reference to formal communication of the membership of various coalitions and the relative majorities of the House as at today. The designation must take into account any changes in the various coalitions, vacancies in the membership of the House, and other relevant realities. As it was stated by the Deputy Speaker, in order to establish the existence and status of coalition agreements affecting the affairs of the National Assembly, she instructed the clerk to write to the office of the Registrar of Political Parties on the evening of 7th February 2025, seeking information. A, membership of the 21 political parties represented in the National Assembly in any coalition, including coalition political parties, and the dates relevant to the membership. Any variations in the membership of the coalitions and coalition political parties and the dates of the variations. C, certified copies of pre-election and post-election coalition agreements relating to the parties and the status of the agreements. The registrar responded by a letter dated 11th February 2025 that was tabled by the Deputy Speaker yesterday, and the contents of the letter indicate as follows: that a pre-election coalition known as the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, in brackets Azimio, was registered on 21st April 2022 and comprised 21 parties, namely Jubilee Party, Orange Democratic Movement, Wiper Democratic Movement, Kenya African National Union, National Rainbow Coalition, Muungano Party, Democratic Action Party, Democratic Action Party Kenya, United Party of Independent Alliance, United Progressive Alliance, Kenya Union Party, United Democratic Party, Movement for Democracy and Growth, Kenya Reform Party, Chama cha Uzalendo, Party of Peace and Democracy, National Liberal Party, People's Trust Party, Ubuntu People's Forum, Party of National Unity, Labour Party of Kenya, and the Party of Growth and Prosperity. That a pre-election coalition known as the Kenya Kwanza Alliance was registered on 3rd June 2022 and comprised 11 political parties, namely United Democratic Alliance, Amani National Congress, Forum for Restoration of Democracy Kenya, Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party, the Service Party, Tuchibebe wa Kenya Party, Farmers Party, Devolution Party of Kenya, Economic Freedom Party, and the Umoja na Maendeleo Party. That a post-election coalition agreement was entered into on 5th September 2022 between the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and 4 additional parties, namely the Democratic Party of Kenya, National Agenda Party of Kenya, Grand Dream Development Party, and Chama cha Mashinani. The letter from the Registrar of Political Parties did also convey that 5 parties had exited the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, namely the People's Liberation Party, formerly the National Rainbow Coalition Kenya, on 6th December 2024, Maendeleo Chapchap Party on 25th January 2024, Devolution Empowerment Party on 11th April 2023, United Democratic Movement on 22nd November 2023, and Pamoja African Alliance on 27th February 2023. Suffice to mention, members, that the People's Liberation Party, formerly National Labour Coalition, does not have representation in this House. That the Amani National Congress was in the process of dissolving the party to collaborate with the United Democratic Alliance. That the Movement for Democratic and Growth, MDG, had initiated a process of exiting the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, but was yet to finalize its exit from the coalition political party. That as at 11th February 2025, the Pamoja African Alliance, PA, Maendeleo Chapchap, MCCP, United Democratic Movement, UDM, and the National Ordinary People Empowerment Union, NOPEU, are not members of any registered coalition or coalition political party. Honorable members, I put emphasis on the information provided by the Registrar of Political Parties that the said 4 political parties are not members of any registered coalition or coalition of political party. It is notable that even if it was to be assumed that the 4 vacancies were to be filled in favor of the parties under which the former members were elected or nominated and their number added to the computation of the 2 coalitions, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party would still not attain a majority of the members in the House. Honorable members, my reference to the Gazette notices relating to the election of members at the last general election and the current vacancies with respect to Banisa, Magarini, Ugunja, and the resignation of the Honorable John Badi, the current composition of the National Assembly by individual political parties in alphabetical order is as follows. Amani National Congress, 8. Chama cha Mashinani, 1. Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya, 5. Democratic Party DP, 1. Fort Kenya, 6. Grand Dream Development Party, 1. Jubilee Party, 28. Kenya African National Union, 6. Kenya Union Party, 3. Maendeleo Chapchap, 2. Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, 1. National Alliance Party of Kenya, 1. National Ordinary People Empowerment Union, NOPEU, 1. Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, 83. Pamoja African Alliance, PA, 3. Service Party, TSP, 2. The United Democratic Alliance, UDA, 145. United Democratic Movement, UDM, 7. United Party of Independent Alliance, UPIA, 2. United Progressive Alliance, UPA, 1. Wiper Democratic Movement, 26. A simple calculation of the cited numbers with reference to the communication and coalition agreements received from the Register of Political Parties indicates the cumulative number of the members of the constituent parties of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance as follows. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party consists of 154 members, computed by adding the membership of the Orange Democratic Movement, Jubilee Party, Wiper Democratic Movement, Kenya African National Union, the Democratic Alliance Party of Kenya, the Kenya Union Party, the United Party of Independent Alliance, and the Movement for Democratic Growth. The Kenya Kwanza Alliance consists of 165 members, computed by adding the membership of the United Democratic Alliance, the Amani National Congress, Ford Kenya, the Service Party, the National Agenda Party of Kenya, the Grand Dream Development Party, the Democratic Party, and the Chama cha Mashinani. Honorable members, it's notable that the numbers relating to the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party are tinged by a slight element of doubt with respect to membership of the Movement for Democratic and Growth MDG. You will recall the expressed sentiments made by the sole member and party leader of the MDG yesterday in the House, dissociating both himself and the party from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. However, I decline to engage in this controversy. Arising from the foregoing, the Kenya Kwanza Coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party is the minority party in the House. I have not received order. I still have a little more to go. I have not received any further communication from the Kenya Kwanza Coalition replacing the member for Kikuyu, the member for Kilifi, the member for South Mugirango, and the member for Marsabit County as their preferred leadership in the House. Similarly, I have not received any communication from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party replacing the member for Suna East, the member for Kadiani, the member for Suba North, and the member for Embakasi West as their preferred leadership in the House. Consequently, the leadership of the House remains unchanged. Permit me at this stage, honorable members, to address the fate of 14 members who, as per the letter from the Registrar of Political Parties, belong to parties other than parliamentary parties that are not affiliated with the two identified coalitions in the House. I wish to reiterate that the 14 members and all independent members shall be treated equally in nomination to the committees of the House and access to any other attendant entitlements. The Speaker shall, under Standing Order 174-2B, decline to approve any list of members nominated to serve in committees that does not take into account interests of all members, including the 14. Honorable members, under Standing Order 172, the Committee on Selection is responsible for nominating members to serve in all committees, including the remaining 17 sessional committees that I listed yesterday in the communication on resumption of sittings for the 4th session and the lapse and reintroduction of business. I urge the committee to prioritize the constitution of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in light of the communication that I gave you earlier on the budget policy statement. In summary, therefore, honorable members, I guide as follows. The Kenya Kwanza Coalition is the majority party in the House. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party is the minority party in the House. To the extent that I have not received any communication of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party or the Kenya Kwanza Coalition replacing their leadership in the House, the leadership existing as at the end of the last session remains the leadership of this House. I thank you. Yes, Millie, this was your point of order. Honorable members, I am not opening any debate. I'm giving Honorable Millie because she was the owner of the point of order. After she finishes, we go to the next order.
Rosarit Martin. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, actually in compliance with Standing Order number 87-2, Mr. Speaker, in compliance with Standing Order number 87-2, somebody was calling me. Yes, I just wanted to indicate that in compliance with Standing Order number 87-2, I am actually not going to raise any issues regarding...
May I have my standing orders? Go on now.
Thank you.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to say that in compliance with Standing Order number 87-2, I will not raise any issues regarding the communication that you have just given. I'm a very law-abiding citizen and cognizant of our standing orders. And further, Mr. Speaker, I also just wish to indicate that us, Azimio, and much more so, those of us who are very keen on ensuring that Baba clinches the AU position, we want to be sure that we follow the rule of law and that we support a broad government which is not based. And we are encouraging the government to be both broad and based. It is broad but not based. For those who have not learned literature, understand what I'm saying. This government is broad, but it is not based. So don't call us to be in a broad-based government. It has to be broad-based government. And Mr. Speaker, I also just want to say that as Azimio, we follow. No, I'm not going to congratulate you. Mr. Speaker, this one is talking towards me, but I ignore him.
Ignore him, you are senior.
He should listen to me. I'm ignoring him.
Osoro.
As Azimio.
Honorable Osoro.
But Mr. Speaker.
Millie Odhiambo is your learned senior.
Yes.
Listen to her.
But Mr. Speaker, don't even worry, I can handle him. I'm capable in all manner to handle him. Mr. Speaker, as adherents, as Azimio, we are adherents to the rule of law. And Mr. Speaker, as those who adhere to the rule of law, I want to indicate just that the way you say as lawyers, yeah, that we speak as lawyers.
Yes.
I want to indicate that as Azimio, we very respectfully disagree. I will not go to the substance. But we very respectfully disagree with your communication. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, again, a philosophy in my local community that says, "Ngamatek konyono kwesimeru." When a strong man steps on your mother's pipe, you tell your mother to remove her pipe. That philosophy acted when my mother, in the generation of my mother. In my generation, if angamatek onyono kwesimeru, you point at the eyes. You point at the eyes of Ngamatek, respectfully. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that today, you are Ngamatek. Ngamatek is the strong man. You are stepping on my mother's toe. But I will respectfully tell you, Mr. Speaker, that I don't agree with you as a strong man, that you are stepping on my mother's toe. And as Azimio, we are going to take further action until you stop stepping on my mother's pipe. And I respectfully, Mr. Speaker, note your communication.
Thank you, Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Order. I'm not opening any debate. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, that is how the law works. It is not necessarily popular. It's not necessarily likable. It is just the law. Shakespeare said it's an ass. It is the law. So when you obey the law, sometimes you may step on somebody. Sometimes you may not. But the law remains the law, and in the law we trust, in our constitution we trust. Finally, I want to join all of you in wishing our patriarch, our leader, Raila Amolo Odinga, success in the election as the chair of the African Union Commission, where the first vote to be cast will be that of President William Samoei Ruto of Kenya. I have also, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, directed the majority leader and his counterpart after this ruling that in constituting committees, they should go beyond broad and base. Order. I will not open any debate. Next order. Order, Wanjala. Order, Wanjala. Next order. No.
Order number 8.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, appointment of members to the House Business Committee.
Majority Leader. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 17-1,
Order, members. Those who are recessing, recess quietly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 171, 1F, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the House Business Committee in addition to those specified under paragraph A, B, C, D, and E. 1, the Honorable Omboko Milemba, CBS MP. 2, the Honorable Robert Mbui, CBS MP. 3, the Honorable Faith Wairimo Gitao, MP. 4, the Honorable Samuel K. Chepkonga, CBS MP. 5, the Honorable Adan Welia Keinan, CBS MP. 6, the Honorable Tom Joseph Francis Kajuang, MP. 7, the Honorable Sarah Paulata Correre, MP. 8, the Honorable Joshua.
Order, Honorable Kajuang, you cannot call for order when you are not orderly. What are you doing where you are? Order. We have moved to the next order and proceed.
7, the Honorable Sarah Paulata Correre,
Pardon?
MP.
Why is he? Order. I did not give a chance to anybody except the mover of the notice of motion. Go on. Yes. Ichungwa, go on.
8, the Honorable Joshua Mbidi Mwalio, MP. 9, the Honorable Umul Kher Kasim Sheikh, MP. Honorable Speaker, as members may know, this is a very critical committee. And Honorable Speaker, the other members of the committee sit in that committee by virtue of their offices. And with those few remarks, I beg to move and request the Honorable Aden Keinan to second the motion in agreement.
Keinan.
I second, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Take your seats. Order. Honorable members. Order. Honorable Millie's point of order was not a party point of order. It was a point of order by the distinguished member for Suba North. And upon delivering the communication, I dutifully gave her an opportunity to say what she said. And that has ended that matter. We are now on order number 8. I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 171-1F, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the House Business Committee, in addition to those specified under Orders A, B, C, D, and E. Honorable Mboka Milemba, CBS MP. Honorable Robert Mbui, CBS MP. Honorable Faith Wairimu Gitao, CBS MP. Honorable Samuel K. Chepkonga, CBS MP. Honorable Adan Walia Keinani, CBS MP. Honorable Mboka, I'm proposing the question. I've not put any question. So actually you're out of order. Honorable Tom Joseph Francis Kajuang, CBS MP. Honorable Sarah Paulata Correre MP. Honorable Joshua Mbithi Mwali MP. Honorable Omulher Kasim Sheikh MP. Yes, yes, Cynthia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to make a comment in regard to the House Business Committee that has been constituted. Honorable Speaker, I note that these are members that were sitting in the same committee last time, and they did a beautiful job, Honorable Speaker, and I want to support their nomination back to the House Business Committee. Honorable Speaker, it must be noted that the House Business Committee is the engine of this House, and we appreciate their acceptance to actually run the business of this House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support their nomination, and I urge the honorable members of this House to support it so that, Honorable Speaker, we can continue and start business that is important to this House so that I can be able to serve the people of Kenya. We can ensure that the House Business Committee members are able to schedule our business, Honorable Speaker, so that I can be able to dispense matters that matter to the people of Kenya. I support, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Junet. Honorable Junet. Order. Order. Members standing around Honorable Junet. Honorable Junet, take your seat for a minute. Members.
Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honorable Junet, just hold. Honorable Babowino. Order. Honorable Babowino. Take your seat. When the Speaker calls you out, you don't have to stand up. This is not a classroom. You are rarely in this House. And when you come, you want to cause disorder. Take your seat. Order, Honorable Junet. I've given you your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I have no intention to speak about your ruling, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak on the matter that is before the House now. Mr. Speaker, under instructions from our parliamentary group, Mr. Speaker, before you put the question, I have been asked to convey to you on the floor of the House that we have withdrawn our members from the House Business Committee, Mr. Speaker. Yes. So it will be a nullity for the House to pass the membership from our side, Mr. Speaker. Now you can consider me as majority or minority, whichever way you can take.
Yeah. Honorable Junet, a question has already been proposed. Yes. Honorable Ichungwa, order, Honorable Ichungwa, I call upon you to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in reply, let me say the House Business Committee is properly and duly constituted. And with or without the participation of the 4 members of the Azimio Coalition, the House Business Committee would sit. And Honorable Speaker, being the chair of the House Business Committee, you will be advising the House Business Committee on when to have our first sitting, hopefully after the adjournment of this House this afternoon, so that we may be able to schedule business that concerns Kenyans. Because, Honorable Speaker, what we have engaged in from yesterday does not concern the people of Kenya who have sent us to represent us in this House. What we have been engaged in, Honorable Speaker, from yesterday up to the drama that you witness now is a drama touching on leadership positions by leaders and leadership positions in the House. But what is more important to all of us, Honorable Speaker, is the leadership positions that have been given to us by the people of our constituencies as their representatives in the House. And that is what we should put ahead of every other consideration. Honorable Speaker, I said it yesterday. The perks of the leader of majority are similar to the perks of the leader of minority. These seats are nothing personal to anybody. Honorable Speaker, even the chairs of committees, Honorable Speaker, the small sitting allowance they get as chairs of committees do not even commensurate with the amount of work that chairs and vice chairs of committees have to put in and the amount of sacrifice that they make, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, I really want to implore on all our members, including my brothers and sisters from the Azimio Coalition, to put the people that they represent ahead of their own interests as leaders and conduct the business of the House in addressing the pertinent issues that are concerning the people of Kenya today, Honorable Speaker. As you indicated, Honorable Speaker, we have business to have all the 18 committees whose term have come to an end, reconstituted, Honorable Speaker, some of which have a huge implication on the lives of our people. You have seen students in both our primary and secondary schools are waiting for school capitation. The cabinet yesterday did approve the supplementary appropriations bill, and this is the money that Kenyans are waiting for. Money to go to our children, not just for bursaries, but even for school capitation, to enable government to also hire the additional 20,000 teachers that are going to help in our schools, Honorable Speaker. And those are the things, Honorable Speaker, that I say should be concerning us now. And I really want to urge that you do convene the House Business Committee, hopefully immediately after this vote, Honorable Speaker, for us to be able to schedule business and reconstitute those committees that will help us to pass the budget policy statement for this year and the supplementary appropriations bill that will be coming to this House in the next few days. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to reply.
Honorable members, before I put the question, it is important that we put certain matters in proper perspective. Standing Order 58 reads as follows. After the question has been proposed on a motion, the motion shall be deemed to be in the possession of the House, and such motion shall not be withdrawn without the leave of the House. That's number one. Number two, I received communication from Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, Honorable Junet Mohammed, and I want to put it on record so that it is clear to all Kenyans. Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah wrote to the Clerk of Parliament, Samuel Njoroge, on 6th of February as follows. And this is after I had spoken personally to both Honorable Ichung'wah and Honorable Junet, asking them to propose names to the House Business Committee. Honorable Ichung'wah wrote, Dear Sir, reference nomination of Kenya Kwanza Alliance members to the House Business Committee. Further to your letter referenced NA L&P HBC /2025 CORR in bracket 001 dated 3rd February 2025. I hereby submit the following names of members of the Kenya Kwanza Coalition for appointment to the House Business Committee, in addition to those specified under Standing Order 171, 1B and D. The Honorable Samuel Chepkonga, CBS MP, was in Gishu County, Male. The Honorable Omboko Milemba, CBS MP, Vihiga County, Male. The Honorable Faith Wairimu Gitao, CBS MP, Nyandarua County, Female. The Honorable Joshua Mbithi Mwalio, MP, Machakos County, Male. The Honorable Umulkhair Kasim Sheikh, MP, Mandera, Female. Yours sincerely, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, AGH MP, Leader of the Majority Party, copy to the Right Honorable Dr. Francis Moses Wetangula, AGH MP, Speaker of the National Assembly. On the 10th of February, I received a letter from the Honorable Junet Mohammed, addressed to the Clerk of the National Assembly. Dear Sir, reference nomination of members to the House Business Committee. Your letter dated 3rd February 2025, reference NALP HBC /2025 CORR 001 refers. The minority party nominates the following members to the House Business Committee in accordance with the standing orders. The Honorable Mbui Robert MP, the Honorable Francis Kajwang Tom Joseph MP, the Honorable Walie Adan Kainan MP, the Honorable Korere Sarah Paulata MP, yours sincerely, Junet Mohammed, Honorable EGH MP, Suna East Constituency, Leader of the Minority Party in the National Assembly. At the time the Honorable Junet wrote this letter, the judgment under contestations that has gone on yesterday was already out. And he knew and designated himself, rightly so, as the minority leader, I call out today for the motion to be moved. The majority leader moved the motion, and it was seconded by the Honorable Kainan. Once a motion is moved, you can either move an amendment seeking the necessary support from the House that shall be put to a vote, or you keep your cool. You do not change the content of a motion by picketing on the floor of the House and making statements that are completely unparliamentary and unhelpful. As it is now, the motion that you are going to vote to is properly the House, fully carrying the names of both sides of the House, the majority and minority, and upon voting on the motion, I direct all members who, if they're passed by the motion, to go to room 9. For the first meeting of the House Business Committee to schedule business for tomorrow. And this House must, and I repeat, we have a greater duty to the people of Kenya than the shenanigans that we want to display here. The mover of the point of order yesterday, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, said she respects the outcome. She doesn't agree. That is part of fair game in an arena that is judicial or quasi-judicial, like this House. Like I said, we go to court, you lose a case, you don't fight the judge, you don't insult the judge, you say, much obliged, my lord, you'll come to fight another day. That is how the law works. I now put the question, honorable members, that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 171-1, and I repeat, no member listed on this motion has been withdrawn, because the withdrawal of any member on a motion like this can only be through an amendment to the motion. And now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 171-1F, this House approves the appointment of the following members to the House Business Committee in addition to those specified under paragraphs A, B, C, D, and E. Honorable Mboko Milemba, CBS MP, Honorable Robert Mbui, CBS MP, Honorable Faith Wairimu Gitau, CBS MP, Honorable Samuel K. Chepkonga, CBS MP, Honorable Adan Wailie Kainan, CBS MP, Honorable Tom Joseph Francis Kajwang, CBS MP, Honorable Sarah Paulata Correra MP, Honorable Joshua Mbithi Mwalio MP, Honorable Omolher Kasim Sheikh MP. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, you may be upstanding, there being no further business in the House. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, the 13th February 2025 at 2:30 p.m. And before the Speaker's procession, members who have been approved to the House Business Committee move to room 9 immediately for the House Business Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform Senator Kalwale, my neighbor, that also when you go
Members of the National Assembly are debating the State of the Nation address. They were on a 30-minute recess. We'll take you there as soon as those proceedings begin. But for now, let's continue to this. And those are live visuals that we're showing you there. We'll take you there as soon as those debates commence. All right, to this now. The South African National Taxi Council in the Western Cape has called on police to speed up their investigation into an alleged arson attack in which 20 taxis were set alight at the Nyanga taxi rank on the weekend. At least 16 minibus taxis and 4 23-seater vehicles sustained damage estimated at about 12 million rand. No arrests have been made so far and no injuries were reported. The fire incident followed a shootout between rival security companies affiliated to the Cape Amalgamated Taxi Association last month, in which 1 person was killed and 7 others seriously injured. Now, 19 people, including security personnel, were arrested after the shooting. Here's SABC News reporter Mlamli Manele. In fact, we'll bring you that report a little bit later on. I think the proceedings have started in Parliament. Let's listen in.
President Trump's first term in office, The Economist magazine posed a fundamental question in April 2017 as to whether China was challenging the U.S. for global leadership. They put it as follows, I quote, "The two countries are looking in opposite directions. America away from shouldering global responsibilities, China towards it. And they are reappraising their positions in different ways. Here, like the China administration, the Trump administration is dashing from one policy to the next, sometimes contradicting itself and willing to box any rival it sees, whether perceived or real, I might add. China, tortoise-like, is extending its head cautiously beyond its carapace, taking slow and painstaking steps towards global leadership," end quote. This statement, as you know, President, is as true today as it was when made 7 years ago. Honorable President, President Trump's recent executive actions, predicated as they are on misinformation and unfounded rumors, require us to assess our position in the world, to deepen political and trade relationships with countries who endeavor to shoulder more global responsibilities. To this end, we should reorient our trade priorities towards BRICS countries, who constitute approximately 50% of the global population, and the African Continental Free Trade Area. We should also use the upcoming G20 summit to advance Africa's interests in global trade and the development of an equitable global order. Appraisals of our involvement in the DRC and other continental obligations. While talking about the DRC, I must hasten to add that I found the warmongering that took place in the debate here yesterday deeply repulsive. It is despite pressure from the U.S. to extend our heads cautiously beyond our carapace, taking slow and considered steps in support of the struggle of the people of Palestine in their effort to disentangle themselves from a comprehensive web of oppressive entanglements. Honorable President, as you indicated in your speech, the empowerment of women, youth, and people with disabilities is of paramount importance. It is therefore unpardonable that 30 years into our democracy, coming from one of these groups, vulnerable groups, serves as a fixed impediment to individual success. In fact, For many of these vulnerable groups, rising above one station is an enterprise for only those most courageous and ambitious. The commendable opening of new ports in other provinces, together with the focus of the Secretariat of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement on guided trade initiatives for businesses of women, youth, and people with disabilities, should help us to create access to markets for businesses of the marginalized groups. In addition, the proposed change in the funding model for municipalities presents an opportunity for rural municipalities which currently have no revenue-raising capacity to use increased budget allocation to resuscitate their failing economies and to support businesses of marginalized groups. However, President, strict measures should be taken to ensure that the restructuring of the funding model for municipalities does not end up in an exercise where we rob Peter to pay Paul. President, while we accept the importance of social grants...
Honourable Kwankwa, your time has expired.
Dear Bulel, I thank you.
I now invite the Honourable Boshoff.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Chairperson of the NCOP, Mr. President, members of the House. We meet today in the wake of the President's State of the Nation address, an occasion intended to offer direction and hope. Yet how can we speak of hope when the President again proposes a questionable policy that undermines economic growth, discourages investment, and exacerbates already high levels of unemployment? Minister Tar's unilateral announcement of the 100 billion transformational fund is not just a bad policy, it is significant concern for democratic processes, an attack on our economy, and a direct threat to fairness, accountability, and the rule of law. This fund was never approved by Cabinet. It was never debated within the GNU. It was never subjected to the due processes that govern major financial policy decisions. Instead, it was unilaterally declared as though the ANC still governs alone. Let me make it abundantly clear, they do not. This government is a GNU and not an ANC dictatorship. The days of steamrolling over South Africa's economy and institutions for the benefit of a few elected elite are over. Years of poor economic policies, crippling corruption, and rampant crime has resulted in a stagnating economy and gradually, over the last 3 decades, took the voters away 20% of their support. And despite this, the ANC went ahead and pushed through NHI, Bella Bill, and the EWC under guise of caring. But in effect, all 3 acts do nothing for the economic growth or creating jobs, and each of them limits individual freedom. Speaking to you, sir, read the headlines, ANC. Your policies are not working, and that's why the voters are rejecting you. The ANC did not give us the GNU. The voters did. They rejected ANC policy. They rejected race-based legislation. I must, however, stress the need for transformation is not up for a debate. It is a necessity. This means the means by which we achieve it.
Honourable Member, please take your seat. I recognise the Chief Whip of the DA.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. My apologies for doing that to our member, but the member is being drowned out from here where we sit. Can you please ask that the members afford the necessary respect to her? Thank you.
Honourable members, we have made the request earlier this afternoon as well. Please keep down the comments and the heckling so that everyone, even at the back, can hear the Speaker. Honourable Boshoff, please proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. However, the means by which we achieve it must be legally sound, economically viable and transparent. This fund, in its current form, fails on all three counts. We have seen this exact playbook before, at Eskom, at Prasa, in PPE scandals, and the billions looted during the state...
Honourable Boshoff, please take your seats. Honourable Dugmore. Please try another microphone.
As Deputy Speaker, I'd like to ask if the honourable member is prepared to take a question and explain, is she in Zilla's caucus or in John Steenhuisen's caucus? Will she take that question?
Honourable Boshoff, are you prepared to take a question?
Do not entertain silly questions.
Please
South African businesses are already struggling due to unreliable power supply and unreliable water supply, a failing infrastructure, a punishing tax regime and policy uncertainty, which is driving investors away, and this fund will only worsen it. The National Empowerment Fund, which is expected to administer this fund, has faced ongoing scrutiny for governance inefficiencies and financial mismanagement. Without strong oversight mechanisms in place, 100 billion in public and private sector contributions could easily become a bottomless pit, failing to deliver meaningful economic transformation while again enriching a select few. We advocate for transparent governance that ensures all public funds are managed through National Treasury and not the questionable NEF. The DA has exposed the full extent of this disaster. My colleague Toby Chance has done hard work in Parliament to reveal the fund's lack of consultation, financial irregularities and unconstitutional design. Agbare President, daar is klinkbare bewyse dat ekonomiese beleide wat rasgebaseerde kriteria nastreef, daar gestel is om net die elite bevoordeel en moet onmiddellik geskraap word en vervang word met meriete gebaseerde behoeftegedrewe bemagtiging. Finish en klaar. Across every sector, from small business owners to major corporations and foreign investors, there is widespread rejection to this plan. En die publiek, agbare president, hulle sien reg deur julle. Na jare van korrupsie, van staatskaping tot plundering van die COVID-hulp, weet Suid-Afrikaners presies wat gebeur as die ANC hulle hande op die 100 miljard gaan kry. Dit gaan nie na transformasie lei nie. Dit gaan in die sakke van die gekoppeldes verbind is. Ons sal dit nie toelaat dat transformasie as 'n verskoning vir plundering gebruik word nie. Honourable members, there is an alternative to this slush fund. The Democratic Alliance's economic justice policy. Go and read it. This offers a transformation model that is transparent, accountable and driven by economic growth. This policy speaks to enterprise-driven transformation, empowering small and medium businesses through incentives and investment-friendly policies, skills development, and not forced racial quotas. The reason for a GNU is to find the best policies from each member party and implement them well. In conclusion, Honourable President, if you believe in fairness, accountability, and economic growth, I say this: reconsider this brewing mistake. Fight for real transformation and economic growth for all South Africans, not only the politically connected few. Scupper this impending disaster of a fund and listen to South Africans. Jobs and growth are what they need, not repackaged policy failures. We are committed to ensuring that this policy does not proceed in its current form. I thank you.
Honourable the Minister of Human Settlements.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Deputy Speaker, Honorable President, Honorable Deputy President, Honorable members, good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Deputy Speaker, to partake in this important debate following a historic and a groundbreaking State of the Nation address. Honorable President, today's debate coincides with the 35 years release of Madiba from prison. President, you provided, like a statesman, a true statesman, a formalistic, succinct speech befitting of who you are. It's a pity that some had very little of it. We accept even that the ANC gains of governance are now personalized today. In some of the years, they belong to one person alone. Honorable Boshoff, transformation cannot only be determined by you. We will determine it jointly, and the transformation fund will go on. If there's nothing that you hate and hate more, it's transformation, and you don't want to see it. Honorable Trump, wherever he sits, has invited you to come and be with him. Go, that's the country that does not need transformation. We need transformation. Honorable Trolley, delusional is you. The president is not delusional. You remain out of the XLSA, out of the GNU, because your friends put you into a minshot, bagushiyulele upemile. Honorable Groenewald, I was born in Petal, the only farming town. The only thing we do in Petal until today is farming. It went to an extent of killing people and putting them underground. The reason why farmers survived before CASP and are still surviving today, it is because of the funds that they were getting annual. Black people and black farmers are successful. Maybe what you should be suggesting is we need to give them more money annually for all those institutional programs to succeed. They are not failures. Honorable Malima, you read part of what President Cyril Ramaphosa said. Let me remind you one thing he said, for example, in the 2024 SONA. He said he will introduce the finance-linked individual subsidy program, which was knownly FLIPS at the time. Today we call it First Home Finances. And as we speak, families between 3,500 and 22,000, 5,082 of them are first-time homeowners assisted by the government of Cyril Ramaphosa after they've been neglected by commercial banks. In the year 2024-25, Honorable President, we are intending to upgrade that program and touch the lives of black people to 140,000. We are partnering with all the Phison Connects Corporation. We are now taking this area to rural areas, this program rather. And we would like to thank the National House of Traditional Leaders, eThekwini Enanda, and the local municipalities, Umlamuli, are already giving us traditional land where we'll finance our black people in rural areas to be first-time homeowners. You spoke about a distribution of land here. We are participating in student accommodation here in the city of Cape Town. Our kids were toy-toying yesterday. But we have already approved 2 settlements of ensuring that student accommodation happens, one in Pela and one in Palo. About 927. Now let me remind you, Democratic Alliance. You only build when there's a constitutional court outcome. I will give you the statistics of how correctly and goodly are you failing to provide human safety. Bendilindel.
Honourable member at the podium, please take your seat.
Deputy
Honourable
Speaker,
member.
this person is speaking like she's in a coffee shop. We're not in a coffee shop here. Please.
Honourable
Whatever
member.
she drank, she can't bring it here.
Honourable
I can
member.
smell it from here, please.
Honourable member.
We're not in a
please
shop
restore
in here,
order.
please, man.
Honourable member at the podium, please proceed.
Honorable Pambo, try better. Usemfana omncane kakhulu. Practice politics uzawuza next year. They will give you the stage next year. Not now. Awuna podium uyingane encane. So listen to me as I deal with how the Democratic Alliance is failing to demarcate land. The Bronwell Court outcome at the Constitutional Court just 2 weeks ago show who you are. Forced evictions, taking people out of the community settlements in town, throwing them to 30 kilometers away. Is that the first court outcome? No. The commando outcome, housing, also Constitutional Court. Hambani ganise a transformation fund to the Constitutional Court, nizawustall, because constitution can only be determined by you. As I'm about to conclude, I would like to ground off how you do not spend. In 2023 and 2024, Western Cape is Nambamsila. We took back 250 million, which you couldn't spend, and you should have built houses at Danone every December. In our housing development grant, as we speak, you are at 41%, you are likely to lose over 300 million. Go and house people correctly. In the informal settlement grant, you are at 20%. Again, you are going to send money back. Where are the provinces? Limpopo, 64%, KZN, 86%. A national refund where you took back 222 million still screams at you. There's no time to waste. South African wants us to fundamentally change, and we will never be dictated by those who think change can only be determined by them. Yes, I had a coffee shop because Ramaphosa had no finance scheme then. So I apply Langoku depend.
I now invite the Honourable Zibi. Order, members.
I am a boy born and raised in a rural village in Botswana with a typical childhood like that of every other child. Most of us, most of the children of this country were born and raised in the most humble of circumstances. Some obviously in less than humble circumstances. I am part of that cohort of children raised in this country. Walked like all of them to school, studied, went from primary school to secondary school in the same village that I was born and raised in, finished primary school and came to town for the first time after serving 1 year of national service in some other very remote part of the country. And having finished that, went to the University of Botswana, where most of the children of this country went, and I studied law there. Finished and then practiced for a few months before going back to the university as what was called a staff development fellow, which was a pathway to becoming a lecturer. I then went to study in the United States at Harvard Law School and returned to teach law at the university for about 10 years in academia, after which I left and went into full-time private practice. I practiced largely in the area of public law, doing human rights, criminal defense work, encountered violations of people's rights, abuses here and there, which strengthened my resolve, not only to defend these rights in the courts, but also to find a way in which I could assist in preventing the occurrences of violation of people's rights. And that has been the animating impulse for me, not just to be reactive and deal with the violations after they have occurred, but to try and see how we can ensure that they do not take place in the first instance. So that's basically what I've done. I've fought in the courts, I've defended human rights, I've advocated, and ultimately I felt the best way to carry the advocacy forward was to venture into the political space. I did. It was a long and arduous road, and happily it has brought me.
There were hurdles along the way.
Many hurdles.
When you look at your growth in politics to be where you are, what were those hurdles and how did you deal with those hurdles?
The first hurdle was, even though I was involved from early days, from my pretty much primary school, secondary school days, through university, in politics, the more active role of leadership was given to me in 2010. And that's when I contested the presidency of the main opposition party, the Botswana National Front, considered, as I then was, an outsider, because I hadn't been involved in the structures as such. So I was a rank outsider. I had the confidence to step up, contest, and I won. I became president of the party with a mandate to try and bring it together with other opposition parties to create a coalition that would then challenge for power meaningfully, in contradistinction to what had happened before. So that was my main focus, really. That if I succeeded at anything at all, it should be in trying to bring the opposition parties together.
And then you brought the opposition parties together, some of them, with the UDC, and you contested elections. The last time I spoke to you, you had reservations in terms of how the Electoral Commission was conducting its business, but here you are victorious. How did you arrive at this victory?
Well, the victory was a result of a generalized feeling of discontent, disenchantment by the majority of the people of this country. We owe this victory more to that than anything else. But of course, there were other factors that came into play. We were able to present a message that spoke to the existing circumstances, but also offer hope for how the situation can be made better for all the citizens of the country. And a message that we were able to take to all parts of the country, to every citizen as best we could. And that message resonated sufficiently with the citizens. And often the problem is not so much whether you have access, but other competing narratives that keep being flung at you and at the people.
What were those narratives?
When you're in a coalition, first you have different political parties having come together. There are two things that happen at the same time. One is cooperation or collaboration amongst these parties, which is a very good thing, and that's what we want. But there's another attendant issue, which is the one of competition. That the same parties that are in collaboration are also in competition with each other. This competition, properly handled and managed, can be a force for good. But if it is not properly handled, as in instances it became clear that there were challenges in relation to the competition aspect, it can actually result in unnecessary splits, unnecessary fights, and a waste of time on frivolity and trivia. And so we experienced that throughout the solidification of the UDC, we had at the beginning the Botswana National Front, the Botswana People's Party, and a party that was called the Botswana Movement for Democracy, which was a splinter group of the ruling Botswana Democratic Party. We went into the 2014 elections solid as a unit. In 2014, the UDC literally began to hold together about 3 months before the elections. But even with that, it did spectacularly. And we were able to get almost 20, if not 20 exactly, seats for the first time in the Parliament of Botswana. And so what remained to be done then after the 2014 spectacular success was to build on and consolidate in order to then, this opposition bloc, in order to then contest meaningfully for power at the next elections, which would be in 2019. Now we began to experience headwinds. First, the BMD itself split. A new party was formed, Alliance for Progressives. The remaining faction or grouping under the name of BMD also became weak, became disruptive in the coalition, resulting in its expulsion. And so we then were able to woo and bring into the coalition another big opposition party that had chosen in the lead up to 2014 to stay out, which is the Botswana Congress Party. It suffered a devastating loss in the 2014 elections. And then the thinking on my part, and a lot of people within the coalition were opposed to this, that we should not bring in the Botswana Congress Party. I am the only person who fought vigorously to bring the Botswana Congress Party in. They mentioned certain tendencies and practices and traits of this organization that they had seen. But I said it would be a coalition of the wounded. We had done very well, but we had not taken over. They had been decimated at the polls. So we would create here a coalition of the wounded, people who were eager to unseat the ruling party. And so I succeeded in persuading others within the coalition to accept the Botswana Congress Party in. And no sooner had they come in than the very issues that they were accused of started surfacing. Dangerous ambition and a spirit of internecine competitiveness that now tended to disrupt the operations of the coalition. We managed these over a long period of time. Then we got to a point where certain actions had to be carried out, suspension of the president and the secretary general of the Botswana Congress Party from the executive committee of the UDC, as a result of which they then left. And so these are some of the challenges that we faced. And the narrative that was then spun and which was sustained until these elections was that I personally was anti-democratic, I was a dictator, and afraid of competition. And I dealt with these accusations in a very factual way, which was, one, a coalition by its nature brings in different parties. The principle that we had agreed on was that we are equals in this coalition. No party is deemed bigger than others. And so because of this, each party was represented at the National Executive Committee of the UDC by 4 members, regardless of the size. And so they wanted an election in the coalition which would determine the leadership of the coalition. And the argument then, which argument holds even now, is if we go to an election and one party, as an example, emerges victorious and has swept all the boards, none of these other parties has any representation in the leadership of the coalition. How then do we proceed to hold the coalition together? It's not gonna it would be a problem. And there were many other issues arising from the very structure of the constitution of the UDC in terms of how to then constitute the delegations to that elective Congress. So all these arguments were then used, and a narrative presented that said there was only one person because he was the president. He was afraid of competition. He feared he would lose to his then deputy. And factually, that was actually incorrect. It was far from the truth. And I also dealt with this and said, look, because of the dynamics within the coalition, two parties had begun the coalition and had anchored it. The Botswana Congress Party was a latecomer. These two parties have stood together. And going into any election, these two parties would vote together. And they would vote and clean out the BCP. And my fear was not that I would lose. My fear was I would win so massively that the BCP within the coalition would be left without representation in the leadership. And this would negatively affect the coalition. And so this was the argument, and it still is the argument to date. And so they then took the view, so we went into the 24 elections without them. And this is the narrative they sold to the public. Their campaign was constructed around this propaganda about the president of the UDC being a dictator, the UDC itself being an entity that is not viable. And so, as a proposition to the voter, it was tested and it fared miserably. And that is why the Botswana Congress Party is now the opposition when we should be with them in government. And now the umbrella for democratic change has succeeded, and it won in a very spectacular fashion. So we are pleased with what has happened, but we were also humbled because we appreciate the sentiment on the ground, the expectations, and the challenges that we face now because of the dire economic situation that the country finds itself in.
Let's look at the transition, quite smooth. Now you have to really face the real challenges you pointed out. What are your priorities?
The main priority right now is to turn the economy around. And if you parcel it down further, we are dealing with an economy that is dependent on a single commodity here, which is the mineral diamonds. Diamonds have fared very badly in the market for many reasons. One, the advent of synthetic or lab diamonds. Two, the now costs associated with mining because we are getting deeper and deeper into the belly of the earth, and a host of other factors. The other one being this ongoing impasse, if you will, between ourselves as the government of Botswana and our other partner in DBS, being Anglo-American.
That impasse, how are you going to resolve this impasse? Because some people are saying perhaps the idea is good as the continent is fighting for beneficiation and better returns, particularly in relation to the value chain. That transformation of how you deal with these people who came to Africa to exploit our minerals, it can't be business as usual. What will be your approach?
Well, it can't be business as usual. And in fairness, it hasn't been business as usual as such. We must appreciate that this venture, mining, involves raising capital to actually do the mining and extract from the ground and take to market in some shape or form. We've been taking to market in the raw unprocessed. We now are saying we want to get involved in beneficiation in the processing. And there's a whole host of ways in which we get ourselves involved. The main focus is narrowed down by those who look at this to cutting and polishing. And that basically is seen as the be-all and end-all. We need to look at other aspects, bringing the diamond trading back to Botswana was in and of itself a major step of advance. Did we build on that? That must also be attended by infrastructure. These folks who come to buy the diamonds, they come here, they fly in the morning, they view, they make their decisions, and no sooner would they have finished than they are going to spend the night in Johannesburg. And they'd come here. So how do we keep them here for a day, 2 days, 3 days? How do we then even take them from here, from viewing and making their decisions and purchases on diamonds to our tourist areas? Because they're already here. It's easier for them to go to the Okavango. It's attractive, it's appealing. So we need to find a way of ensuring that we link up all these sectors in order to have them come here and then go to support our tourism. That is one. Two, we also need to have associated or allied facilities for training. Botswana has mining. It has generated expertise. It has trained its people. And it has a lot of skill and expertise in mining, in metallurgy to offer to the world. So we need to locate those skills here and make Botswana the center for the world in relation to the acquisition of these skills so that we are able to benefit. So there's a broader array of aspects in which the concept of beneficiation could be deployed, not just in the narrow sense of cutting and polishing. Even in that narrow sense of cutting and polishing, we have not sufficiently developed the skills. The best in that area are not here. They're not even in India, they're in Russia. In the area
so
of
are
cutting
you
and
saying
polishing.
you also have to re-look at your relationship in terms of trade and investment with other countries?
Of course we need to, but the more important point is we need to develop our skills to cutting edge, to a level where the world will come here. When they want the best cut of diamond, the best stone, handled by our own people, the world should not want a Russian cut. They should want a Botswana cut. And that is a function of skills development. We need to invest more. So the issue of beneficiation is broader than just a geographic location. Bring people here and let them do this. It's, do we have the skills? Do we have the attendant environment that conduces to bringing many people in here? When you do that, you will then have a need to have direct routes, airline, you improve your surface transportation, you build bigger, better, smarter airports, not one, many. And so when you do that, you assist these people who come to buy diamonds to be able to access the rest of the country. But you also locate Botswana now as a haven and a gateway. People come here, they can then take off from here instead of maybe OR Tambo to go to other places in the world. And it becomes efficient, it becomes quicker, it's safe, it's stable. Now, the transition that we've just witnessed does a lot of things for the country. The first thing it does is it cements our place as a robust, tested democracy. It does this because in this instance, we had a party that had ruled for 58 years that did not expect to lose. By all accounts, all the analysts in this country and elsewhere were emphatic that the BDP was going to win. You go into the elections. No sooner has the counting started than it becomes evident that the BDP is losing. What does a person who's sitting there and who has the power to affect the process even as it unfolds, what did he do?
He called you.
He assesses, he accepts. Now that's no small feat. He accepts that the democratic process is going in a particular direction, it does not occur to him that he can go against it. It doesn't. And this is critical, because if we were saying, no, he called his security chiefs, he did an assessment, and they told him it would not be good. No, none of that happened. The person himself is sitting there, sees what is happening, and it comes naturally to him to understand that what this means is there will be a new president at the end of this process. He reaches out. He talks to that prospective president, that potential president, and he says, congratulations, your party seems to be doing very well. You seem poised to win. We are still hopeful that we may bounce back, but congratulations all the same. That is a powerful, evocative statement and act about the substantive quality and depth and strength of Botswana's democracy. And this has happened. And it goes on through, the counting is going on. In the evening, he calls. The counting has not been finished. It will finish around the afternoon of the next day. But the pattern is emerging. He says, I can see how it is developing. It hasn't reached there yet, but I will concede. I want to assure you that I will readily concede. What kind of person behaves like this? A person who's steeped, who's entrenched in the values of democracy. And it goes on. The following morning, before it is concluded, he goes and he concedes. So what this must tell the world, and I believe it has, because now the world's attention has been drawn to this country. It says there was never any doubt. All the anxieties, the dread, and fear that anybody may have harbored or nursed,
it's done,
was without any meaningful basis. Here is a country that accepts seamlessly. And this goes, the president has conceded, everybody now, and he says himself that I had to counsel some of my members. Some of them broke down. I had to tell them that this is this is democracy. So you must respect, and respect deeply, a person who behaves like this. And it goes on. He doesn't impede. He doesn't obstruct. He hands over. He makes himself available. I was with him yesterday. We talk. I'd called him in the morning, wish him well, and tell him I look forward to seeing you at the inauguration. He was there, and we had a chat together. So it says to the investor, you are safe investing in Botswana. Change of government does not affect your circumstances. This republic is bigger than individuals who happen at any moment in time to be its leaders. So this is a powerful statement.
Mr. President, still on the issue of diamonds, in terms of the talk, the issue of the shareholding, there was a proposal in terms of changing of the shareholding structure with De Beers, or now I can say those who have taken over De Beers. Do you agree that you have to change the agreement?
Look, the agreement is being discussed now. The shareholding in De Beers, as we sit here, is 15% held by the government of the Republic of Botswana and 85% held by Anglo in all its other shape and formations. If, and in any corporate or commercial setting, Botswana wants more shares, it obviously will approach the majority shareholder and say, we are ready to buy. Let's do a valuation. We want to buy 30% of your shares.
Why buy?
Buy because this is the shareholding. It's proprietary. The 85% shareholder is a property holder. These shares, incorporeal property that they are property. So if you want to acquire somebody's property, you've got to pay compensation. That's what the Constitution of this republic says. That's what property law dictates. So you're going to have to go to them and engage.
Are you going to do
with
that?
a view to? That's a different proposition altogether. The real proposition right now is Anglo has taken a decision that it wants to sell its shares or demerge its operations. One, are we able to buy? If we want to buy, then there's nothing that stops us. Why? Because we have a right of first refusal. Do we have the money to buy? That's the question. Has a valuation been made which is reasonable and fair and commercially sound? That's another question. But critically, the value of DBS, without any doubt, is dependent on the existence of a contract between itself and the government of Botswana. So we need first to anchor that property, which is DBS, which is the mining, by concluding the contract between it and the government of Botswana. As matters stand, there are a few outstanding issues which could not be resolved until the previous regime left. We are in the process now, and we've made overtures. We want those issues resolved at the earliest. If we could resolve them by the end of this coming week, it would be excellent. Because if they are not resolved, they pose an existential threat to Botswana in terms of its revenue earning capabilities. So we are alive to this. We are engaging actively with our partners in DBS to address these issues and address them as quickly as possible. So we will. In my brief encounter with the delegation from DBS, Anglo, yesterday, we both expressed a commitment to resolving these issues as quickly as possible. And a resolution, and I'm not being overly presumptuous or preemptive, may result in a situation where our own shareholding increases. It is one of the issues on the table. But obviously, the negotiation process will resolve.
You still have to negotiate.
Yeah.
Let's move to another thorny issue. As neighboring countries, we do have challenges at times because we have different levels of development, particularly when you look at the GDP and the opportunities. The issue of Zimbabwe, at some point in time, you spoke about giving Zimbabweans the necessary documents to be in Botswana. Can you really explain that? I'll tell you why. This issue of movement of people is causing a tension not only in our region, around the world. Migration has become so problematic, and the immigration laws, because the citizens of respective countries are fighting for resources with some who are not from that country. The issue of Zimbabwe.
Yeah. We've got to approach the issue of Zimbabwe somewhat dispassionately. Leave our emotions out of it and deal with the facts. What are the facts? The facts are there is, without any doubt, an influx of people from Zimbabwe into Botswana. They end up taking up the most menial of jobs. As a matter of fact, many of the jobs that they end up taking are jobs that our own people are not desirous. There's no serious appetite on our citizens for these jobs. And there's nothing wrong with not liking a particular job. And therefore, when an opening arises, you're not interested. But we also must acknowledge that there will be somebody else, either out of desperation or whatever reason, who will be interested in taking this job. And so that person comes in, without any doubt. How did this person come in? They came in illegally. But they are doing the job. They are already here. What do? We can choose to spend money and send this person back. The moment you leave this person at the border, they cross back, and by the evening they are here. So Are we succeeding? No. How then do we deal with this situation? We could deal with it by, and when they are illegal like that, because they are hiding, they end up involved in crime. They end up exploited. And this exploitation makes it even more unappealing because they will take this job for next to nothing. And so the employers, those who have these jobs, who are hiring them, prefer them to citizens because the citizen will want more. So there is a demand for people who will work for a pittance. So they themselves are exploited. Why are they exploited? They are outside the protection of the law because in the first place, when they came in, they placed themselves outside the protection of the law. So we want to deal with this thing and say, let us allow you to come in legally. Then you contest for the job, however you do. You get the job. The employer, because they can no longer exploit you as an illegal. The employers are now forced to bargain with you for a better pay. And if the pay rises, then maybe the citizen will see that this job is paying more than it used to. I'm now interested. I want this job. Then there's some competition there. But you can only achieve that if you take the initial step of ensuring that they come here legally. This is not to go and invite and say, just come and run us over. No.
It means you are not saying open borders.
No. We're not saying that. We are saying we recognize the challenge. Let us deploy strategies and approaches that are appropriately fashioned to deal with so that they do not pose a security risk to us and to our people. Then they can be within the law. They can be controlled either by way of a temporary work and residence permit or a much longer term work and residence permit. We can control, we can manage them, we can account for them. Then we manage the situation. That is one part. The second is, at the same time, our people have not been given skills in sufficient numbers. We don't have enough electricians, artisans really. And so that is why if you go to any construction site in Botswana, 80% or more of the workers there are from Zimbabwe. It's a fact. And they have some of these skills that we have not cared perhaps or managed to impart to our own people. So one way of dealing with this is to address the skills deficit so that our people are available and they can step up. Then we are able to address this. But even more fundamentally, in the medium to long term, with a population of 2.4 million, an active workforce probably of about 300, maximum 400,000 active, unless you want to engage child labor or the aged. The active workforce would probably be in the region of 400,000. If we create the kind of jobs that we want to create in this economy, grow the economy and create jobs, then we will be able to absorb some of these without any difficulty. And rather than take a short-termist approach of hiding our heads in the sand, let us take a more proactive, sustainable approach of growing the economy, creating the jobs, ensuring the skills are available, they get absorbed in the economy, but those who can come in from outside and also give us skills that we need, we make it hospitable for them to come into our country. And we together build and grow the economy. This is the argument. And if you take it from, because the immediate former president was saying to me yesterday about this issue of people from Zimbabwe, people from Namibia coming in, one of the challenges on the African continent, we must admit, is the difficulties in free movement of goods and services. Services here, we mean even skills. Services, we mean people who come visit our country. A person from France carrying a French passport enters this country easily and goes. A person from some of these African countries, some of them have a lot of money. They want to come here. We have visa. It's a mess. Because we have the colonial hangover of being overly suspicious of other black people. So we need to grow out of this colonial hangover. If we give a person carrying an American passport, we give a person carrying a French or European passport free access, easy access. Let's give access. It is not unregulated. It is regulated. You come in. Right now, Russia decided people from Botswana no longer need visas. Come in, if you are from Botswana, we'll stamp your passport, we'll give you 90 days per year. It's a decision they took. Have Botswana relocated to go to Russia? No. People assume that other Africans want to run away from their countries and come and flood. Studies on migration, proper studies, have shown that that is not correct. People want to come and do whatever they do and go back. So if we manage it well and ensure they come in, they are documented, we know where they are. If you overstay, you know you'll be fined or you'll be arrested. They will behave. So this is how we can deal with the migration issues. We don't deal with the migration issues on impulse or on trying to visit recriminations on those who come. No. We understand the nature of the problem. We find appropriate solutions backed by evidence, and then we do exactly that.
Let's look at, you are now leading this country, and there are reports that there are allegations of corruption and how other people conducted themselves. How are you going to approach this issue? Are you going to hold people accountable?
It's not even a question of am I, as if I have a choice not to. The legal framework in this country is that whoever engages in corruption is operating in violation of the law. The issue then becomes, are we able to detect? Are we able to process those violations? And are we able to secure appropriate action, either by way of conviction or seizure of the properties or proceeds of those crimes? This has been done. Maybe the demand is do more. So if there's more, then more must be done. And there's no question about it. It's not even whether I want or I don't want. The way it becomes troubling is when it is expected that we should be vindictive. There's no vindictiveness.
It's accountability.
There's no vengeance. It applies to us in the same way as it applies to everybody. If any person in this new government engages in corruption, they must face the consequences in the same way that anybody who has before must face the consequences. And so that is not a matter for debate. What is for debate is, do we have the trail? Do we have the evidence? Then we take it forward. So that, I think, is the nature of the question there. Not whether I want to go after. I don't want to go after anybody. But anybody who has engaged in corruption, I don't have to decide to go after it. The law must go after any and every person who has engaged in corruption.
As we wind up or wrap up, let's look at global issues. The war in Ukraine, the Middle East, now you being a head of state. These are some of the issues that you'll have to participate in at multilateral level. What would be the role of Botswana, particularly in relation to foreign policy on these matters?
Our foreign policy is governed by the protection of the interests of Botswana. That is the main driver of our foreign policy. And in protecting these interests, we will engage with others. And our engagements with them will be determined by the extent to which a mutually beneficial relationship in which our interests are secure can be achieved. And any country, a relationship with which would jeopardize our interests, we will be loath to engage with such country. But we don't have any preconceptions about anybody. We have clear requirements and demands in relation to what our interests are. And any country with which we can cooperate to serve our interests, and in so doing, we are not inimical to theirs, and they are not inimical to ours, then there will be a proper bilateral relationship.
Let's look at South Africa. Currently, there's a standoff in relation to import of products from South Africa, the vegetables and the fruits. At some point in time, we were dealing with Namibia with meat. Have you looked at that issue? How are you going to resolve this issue? Because you get people from Botswana saying it has affected supply chain. You get people from South Africa saying it has affected business. And they are looking up to politicians to resolve these matters.
Yes, it's an issue that is capable of causing problems if it hasn't already. We are members of a customs union. There are certain rules and regulations governing members, parties to a customs union agreement. There's a dispensation there in which nascent industries are protected. There are guidelines, bright lines on how this protection